Hi there, this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films, and welcome to another A to Z challenge. This video is full of shame, as this is an A to Z of directors I need to watch more of. Obviously you've got only so much time. There's directors in here that I've got in my backlog that I've promised series on, and as usual all my promises have fallen to the ground like tears of dust. I'm going by, I'll give you my percentage that I've watched on Letterboxd. So some of these filmmakers I have watched some of, others absolute zero. You can't like everything, so potentially I might not like any of these directors, even though I do. But let's get started. Obviously this might lead to some abuse in the comments, but I'll try and stand it. For the letter A, I've actually got 3 choices. So I'll start with Chantal Akerman. Jean Dielman, which was voted the greatest film of all time in the latest Sight and Sound, which is obviously ridiculous, and I disagree with, but it's still very good. This is the only Chantal Akerman film I've seen, so I'm at 1% according to Letterboxd. So there's room for improvement, certainly, with Chantal Akerman. And then 2 filmmakers that I really don't have an excuse because I've got a boatload of their stuff. Theo Angelopoulos, which again I promised a series of at some point. I've got all 3 volumes of this DVD set. I don't think any of these films are on Blu-ray, or if they are, they're pretty rare. So I'm at a whopping 0% for Theo Angelopoulos. And I'm also at 0 for Pedro Almodovar, which, yes, is absolutely ridiculous. I think I've had this for about 5 years. Still haven't watched any of them. And this is 6 of his films, which would increase my percentage of absolute 0 on Almodovar, which again is ridiculous. What's even more ridiculous, for letter B, I'm at 0 for Newly Bilge Sailing. Again, he doesn't have a huge filmography, but I'm absolute 0 at his work. I don't have any of his in the backlog though, so I can claim that one as a victory, but I do need to check out some Newly Bilge Sailing. For the letter C, this is kind of shocking as well, but John Cassavetes, I'm at 0. I think I saw Gloria decades ago. This is The Killing of a Chinese Bookie, which I've had in my backlog probably for about 10 years and I still haven't watched it. So Cassavetes, who would probably punch me about the head and face, I'm at 0% officially on Letterboxd for John Cassavetes. You know, people could say I don't have enough films by female directors, but currently my film of the year was directed by a woman. One of my favourite films of all time, Orlando, was directed by a woman. But for the letter D, I'm going with Claire Denis, who I have a whopping 0%. I will be picking up Trouble Every Day, which was announced by Eureka. I'll probably just get the Blu-ray. And obviously Beau Travail is in the Criterion, which I've heard good things about, but I am at 0% with Claire Denis. I have nothing in the backlog, so I'll try and fix that. For the letter E, I'm going to go with Jean Eustache, or Eustache, who Criterion just released The Mother and the Whore, which some people love, some people don't. I have none of his work in the backlog, so I'm at 0% on Letterboxd for him. F, I definitely have no excuse because I've got a lot of the stuff in the backlog. It is of course Fassbinder, which I've done I think 2 videos on the series and then left it for a while. I do have Lola, which I have watched and has absolutely blew me away, so I really need to just get on the Fassbinder thing. So I've no excuse because I've got an absolute load of Fassbinder. So very much like Svankmajer, it might not be an official series, but I'll just watch them and review them for the ones that pique my interest. So it might not be an official series on Fassbinder, but I've got to get through them. It's ridiculous. So that's Fassbinder. But as I said, Fassbinder is officially, I'm officially at 13% on Fassbinder. So I'm slowly getting there. Again, another one that people will hate me for, but G's for Godard, which officially on Letterboxd I'm only at 2%, but obviously I've seen Band Apart and Weekend, which I've seen, Alphaville, which I saw years ago but I need to rewatch, and a couple of others that I saw years ago but I need to rewatch. Again, I've got a box set in the backlog which I've had probably for about 10 years as well, so I need to get my Godard percentage up. It's only at 2%. I think Godard's the only filmmaker that does intimidate me a little bit. He keeps like appearing at my window, you know, with that stare. It's quite off-putting. So for H as a director, I have seen quite a few of his films, but I need to see more, but they're not necessarily easily available. It's Hong Sang-soo. Now I'm at 28% for Hong Sang-soo. I think I've seen maybe 8 or 9 of his films, maybe more. This is The Woman Who Ran. I got a bunch of his stuff in the last winter Nova Media sale. This of course stars his muse, shall we say, that he left his wife for. I mean, if you know Hong Sang-soo's style, you know he's not for everybody. Some of his films I find more engaging than other ones, but he's certainly a filmmaker I want to watch more of, even though, as I said, I'm at 28%. I think that might actually be the highest percentage on this list, but I definitely want to see more. Next, again, he's in the backlog. I don't have to go very far for getting my percentage up. It's Derek Jarman, who sits at 12%. So I have got through some of his films in these 2 BFI sets, which I probably could sell for about 100 quid each, but of course I'm not going to. Yeah, so Jarman's at 12%, and the rest of his stuff is pretty much in the backlog, so it's not as if I have to buy all of his stuff. At I, there wasn't that many people at I, so I've went for Inarritu, who did Birdman and Revenant and 21 Grams. I'm at 11% of his films. I've seen Amoros Peros and Babel, but to be honest, he's probably the director on this list I'm not in that much of a hurry to catch up on, but I probably should, obviously. K is Kiarostami, which I'm only at 3% of Kiarostami. Taste of Cherry, which is excellent, and 24 Frames, which was his last film, which is more kind of experimental. But yeah, I need to catch up on more Kiarostami, because I'm only at 3%. For L, it's not a director that I'm in the 20s. I'm at 23%. David Lean, who you don't actually realise didn't make that many films. I've shown this before. This is a 10 film DVD set. So again, I don't have to buy any of his stuff, or that much of his stuff. But I need to improve on my David Lean percentage, because as I said, I'm only at 23%. Obviously a famous British filmmaker that's not as good as Michael Powell, obviously. Yeah, another one that I think this is the maximum percentage. I'm at 28%, but I'm so in love with his work. Arrow Video's done a good job of releasing some of his films, but they need to release way more. It is, of course, for the letter M, Masamura. This is the wife of Seishu Hanoka, which is absolutely brilliant. But again, this is an official DVD. Yeah, Masamura is just fantastic. Blind Beast, Red Angel, Irezumi, so many more. Help Me Discover Ayako Wakeo, who I now can't live without Ayako Wakeo. Yeah, this is an absolutely fantastic film based on the true story of certainly the first Japanese doctor, one of the first doctors in the world to kind of discover anaesthesia. And his wife and mother-in-law have a battle of wits about who's wanting to be his best guinea pig. Yeah, Masamura is just wonderful, and I love him, and I need to get to 100%, but I'm only at 28%. Another Japanese director that I'm way low on is Mikio Naruse. I'm at a whopping 2% for Naruse, and I think that's pretty much, I think I've only seen 2-3 of his films. When a Woman Ascends the Stairs, which is absolutely wonderful, excellent film. A young Tatsu Nakadai, and a brilliant performance by Takamine Hidekyo. Yeah, I need to get more Naruse under my belt, and he's at 2%. Now, probably one of the ones that I'm most laughed at for is another Japanese director, one of the big four, and that's Yuzuru Ozu. I am now up to 18% though. So I got both of these BFI sets, this and another set. So I'm at 18% at Ozu, but obviously still needing to see a bunch of his stuff. I'll be honest, I still don't see, you know, that oh my god, he's the greatest director of all time, but you never know, it might happen one day. Letter P, this is a difficult one. I'm at 19%, but I have seen more of his films that are in the backlog, but I have seen them in the past, but I just need to re-watch them and put a rating on Letterboxd. So I'm at 19%, but that's actually lower in reality, and it's Pasolini. Obviously this is his knockabout comedy Salò, but again I've got the BFI box set, and it's more about re-watching and putting a rating on Letterboxd. But according to the Letterboxd gods, I'm only at 19% for Pasolini, which is just unacceptable. Q is obviously a little bit difficult, but I've went with the Quay brothers, not the Key brothers. Yeah, it's who's weirder, the Quays, the Dardennes, or the Coens. Well, to be fair, it's the Quays by quite a long way. They are quite weird. I am at 13% for the Quays. This is Institute Benjameta, with the, sadly no longer with us, Alice Krieg. But yeah, the Quays obviously influenced a lot by Svankmajer, but they're always worth a giggle. So I'm at 13%. And again, tied with Masamura and Hong Sang-soo as a director that I've seen a bunch of. I'm at 28% again. 28% is the high watermark for this list. I do have a bunch of his films in the backlog because again he was going to be another director series that I haven't got into. As of course Elaine Rennie. So it's really hard to see Last Year at Marienbad DVD Criterion. Obviously I have the Blu-ray, I really need to get the 4K as well. This is one of my favourite films of all time, apart from the organ music. Yeah, I've got 28% of Rennie, which is not shameful in any way, but I do have a ton of his stuff in the backlog. For the letter S, again, this is a film and a filmmaker that quite a lot of people bang on about, but so far the films that I've seen, I haven't really been that impressed. Again, I'll get pelters for it, but it's Seeing Sono. This is Love Exposure, which is still in the backlog. I still haven't watched it. I'm only at 3% for Seeing Sono. I've seen Cold Fish, which left me cold and ended up selling it. I do have Tag, which I have kept, which was a good little film. And I've seen about 15 minutes of Tokyo Tribe before I had to switch it off because it was annoying me. But yeah, I've still got Love Exposure, which everybody says is a masterpiece, which automatically makes me suspicious. But I do need to see more than 3% of Seeing Sono to obviously give a proper opinion. For the letter T, I think there's a couple, but I've forgotten the second one. So I'm going to go with Jacques Tati. I'm at 0% on Letterboxd because I own none of his films. Again, I think I saw Playtime decades ago on the BBC. Again, some people think he's brilliant, other people think he hasn't aged very well. But again, I probably need to pick up that Blu-ray set, which before the weekend was I think £28 on Amazon, and then it is now I think like £41. So that's a bit of a jump. But I need to check out some Tati at some point and make my own opinion. As I said, I'm at 0% on Letterboxd for Jacques Tati. The letter U, again, there's not many choices, but I'm going to go with Edward G. Ulmer, as I'm at 5%. Obviously Detour, I actually prefer Ruthless, which should be on Criterion because it's a better film than Detour, I think. Lots of little cheap films, but kind of wonderful cheap films. But again, he's at 5%, and there's not that many choices for the letter U. So Edward G. Ulmer it is. For the letter V, we're back to women, and again, this might upset a lot of people, but I have seen 0% of films from Agnes Varda, from France, the wife of Jacques Demy, who I have a mixed opinion on. Some of his stuff's excellent, and some of the stuff just I don't really get. Umbrellas of Cherbourg. But Agnes Varda, again, there's a box set available, a DVD box set even, which I could pick up cheaply, which I haven't done yet, but I probably will at some point. But Agnes Varda, to my shame, is at 0%. For W, again, I don't really have an excuse, and this one is a bit like Pasolini in the sense that I have seen more of the films than Letterboxd would have you believe, but I just haven't seen them for years and I haven't put them on Letterboxd. It's Wim Wenders. I've had this set for a couple of years. I got it at the cheapest price I could find. So again, officially I'm only at 5% of Wim Wenders on Letterboxd, but again, that's not really an official score, but it is for the purposes of this video, because I have seen a bunch of them just years ago and I haven't re-rated them on Letterboxd. But again, I've got no excuse because there's a wodge of them in this box set, of course. Yeah, so officially Wim Wenders is 5%, but it's probably closer to 20, I would have thought. And then for X, obviously not a lot of choices, but I've went for the Chinese director Jie Fei, which is obviously not how you pronounce his name. Maybe Zhai Hi-Fi. Yes, his brother's Hi-Fi. So, strangely enough, I'm at 0% for J-Fi. Y is for Yoshida, which I'm at 12%. This is a story written with water, which is excellent. I've seen, I think, Women in the Lake, which is an unofficial DVD. So Yoshida, one of the new wave Japanese directors. So I've seen 12%. Hopefully Radiance release a little bit more from Yoshida. This is Radiance by number 45, which I would highly recommend. I did a random review of this because it's excellent. But certainly Yoshida, you can never have enough Japanese directors or enough Japanese films. So Yoshida's for the letter Y. And for the letter Z, I picked Andrei Zhavaginetsev, as I have 0% of his films. Obviously you can talk amongst yourselves about Zhavaginetsev's films, and which ones I should watch first. But that's my shameful, disgusting A to Z list of filmmakers that I really need to watch more of. Lots of 0% watched there, or rated on Letterboxd at least. Yes, I expect abusive comments in the comments, specifically probably Godard and Ozu and Sion Sono, amongst others, Fassbinder. Obviously lots of people will shout at me for not watching all these films, but hopefully I will manage to do that, because as I say, a lot of them are in my backlog anyway, and other people like Varda, you know, Ackerman, you can get box sets even on DVD that are a bit cheaper. So thanks very much for watching. I hope you don't unsubscribe because of this video. I'm a complete fake. I'm a complete charlatan, because I've only officially seen 3% of Kiarostami. So thanks very much for watching. If you've made it to the end without throwing things at your screen, I appreciate it. And hopefully you'll join me again for happier A to Z lists that aren't quite as upsetting as this one. So this is Solitary Ronin from Solitary Ronin Films saying, well,